Hey, everybody. Welcome to a very, very crazy, not necessarily episode. Sorry, I didn't mean to overhype the episode, but with the circumstances of under what's going on right now in the world, when you look back in this recording, I mean, if there is still a world, right now there's a crazy, crazy,
Oh
uh,
no, see, what's going on is we'll still have a world because it's being affected by a cool virus.
hmm,
And I'll leave it at that because demonetization is scarce right now. They even hear the word and we're getting the hammer.
yeah, it's a very specific virus, and if it's 2020, you can do the math, but um, just a lot of crazy stuff going down. Here in the U.S., it's it's. I don't want to say it's fine, but in terms of like numbers, as of right now, the world has deemed it a pandemic, so it is a very serious issue. But for the U.S. right here, especially where we are,
In true American fashion, we don't care.
yeah, like in a sense, the news and everything, what you see, what's going on with us, like if you're not part of the U.S. or if you're in an area that's like highly, I think the only two cities really that are like really taking this as serious as it is New York and California because they're just highly populated areas.
Yep.
And down here in the South, um, it
Nope.
no, I think the one state that does not give a like a damn right now is Florida.
True.
But let's be fair. Like, if you in the U.S. and you like, even I think people outside of the U.S. know the infamy of of Florida. Like, I would see a headline: Florida man just cures the virus with some meth and flamingo blood.
Hmm.
I'm just
Yep.
saying, like, Florida man crazy. It's this virus isn't gonna take down Florida man. It might. Who knows? Like, it's a scary thought, with everything going on. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about video games. And ironically enough, GameStop is one of the only few stores that is not an essential that is still remains open. So if you want to go ahead and get your copy of and dating this episode even more, Doom Eternal and or Animal Crossing New Horizon, your best place to get it is at GameStop. Not really, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I just wait until Steam. I'm good.
yeah, but and most people, I think people who are really concerned are going to buy Animal Crossing digitally. But as far as collectors who are very into physical copies, I'd say buy it digitally now and then buy a copy of Animal Crossing down the line when all this stuff gets blown over.
Just get the collector's edition on Amazon whenever things blow over.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Whatever edition you were gonna get, but you want to play it now, I suggest waiting on that, holding off onto it, and if you really need to get your fix, just buy it digitally.
Yep.
Um, but as far as Doom owners, unless I think the collector's edition is the only thing that, but you need not worry. It's out. I think people are playing it now. I've seen a G Man Lives review of it, and it looks sick as hell. It's probably one of the most fun games I've ever seen. I have yet to play it, but just looking at everything that it's going on and just playing the original Doom, the 2016 version. Sorry, it's I can already tell that game is gonna be off the chain. Like, it's it's really impressive how much passion is going into this game. I haven't seen anything other than what's been shown for Animal Crossing, but I'm not too keen into it. My wife is. She's excited to get it, and she's gonna get it digitally, but she's also getting a Switch Lite out of it. So amongst all the pandemic, at least she gets to play Animal Crossing.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's a lucky woman because we already have a Switch, but she wanted the light version, so we're probably
Oh, she
gonna.
gonna have fun online and whatnot.
I'm not sure. I only have the Nintendo Online through the Twitch Prime subscription, but who knows? I don't know what plans on doing. She might get online with her siblings, but I'm getting her the Switch, even though we already have one. I'm getting her own because it's technically I bought it for my brother, and I use it only every so often. But I play a couple of indie games on it. Any most The Switch has some good indie game sales. Like the prices of it really drop even compared to the Steam version. So if the performance wise it's fine, or it's a small indie game that doesn't even require that much power to run it, if I can get on the Switch, I'll go ahead and do it. But she wanted her own, and it's also technically it's also a sorry for all the stuttering. I'm still trying to get my thoughts together on this podcast episode. It's technically our on the 26th of March, I think, will be our anniversary.
Hmm.
So that's her anniversary gift, since we can't really go out and celebrate. So what better way to celebrate than getting a game console and staying indoors and playing a game for hours and days on end?
Not bad. You can go to the beach or go to a club.
I wouldn't even go to a club even if there wasn't a pandemic.
Man.
But low key, I wish, like, for where we are, our beaches are not clean. Compared,
Nope.
I mean, but like even before
I mean,
that,
you look at the
there was always like
water,
the
you
big
might as well be looking at the
flesh
sand.
bacteria, flesh-eating bacteria in the water. So you take what you get.
Yep.
Um, and what was I going to mention? Oh, so what this episode, other than that, we're talking about what we've been up to, going on. Any small things that's not too focused. A lot of cons, a lot of conventions, and events are being canceled. So, um, there's a lot to discuss with video games. Like one big thing is I think E3, and
Yep.
but even conventions that my wife that we ordered, to have a table at for Artist Alley, were being moved into maybe next year because of all this crazy mumbo jumbo.
Yep.
Like cons that are like not in later on in the summer and everything are canceling. So if you have anything for it, they're probably just gonna give you on the waiting list for next year. Or if you already paid for it and you're already accepted, you're just going next year. Uh, but who knows?
Keep it well documented.
Yeah, so just keep an eye on anything if you had a convention you were going to. Follow updates on up. You don't have to follow the channel. Excuse me. You don't have to follow the conventions. Like some of them do have Twitter handles, but just keep an update on everything. I know a lot of places are already being canceled, but if you can't get a refund, if anything, they're probably going to. If they're smaller conventions, they're probably going to put you on down for next year. But if it's a bigger one, I'm pretty sure they're just going to give you a refund.
Yep.
So if you already paid in advance for tickets, just be on the lookout. Uh, However, some people are actually not getting refunds and going and using that, like they bought the ticket, but they're considering it a donation, so that way the convention still keeps money.
Hmm. You can actually do that. Hmm. Interesting. Well, aside from the convention and making plans and plans being canceled, what you been up to lately?
Yeah. So a lot of games were on sale for the past few days, and any game under 20, I've kind of been splurging. It's a bad habit of mine, but a game that was free that I actually had a lot of fun with was a here it goes a Sonic fan game. If you probably familiar with it, some few are probably familiar with it. It's been out for years now, and it's still getting
It
updated to
just
this
makes me
day.
feel old.
Yeah, and I just discovered it recently when I was working. Yeah, I still have to work while this. A lot of stores are closing, but I just happened to pick a lucky store that decides it's not going to close, despite it not being as essential as we still carry essential things. And I guess around the area, because there's not really like a Target or a Walmart right around the corner. Actually, there is, but I think it's mostly for the neighborhoods that are close by. Like you kind of have
My
to drive.
question is, do you have toilet paper?
No, of course not. That's the biggest scarce right now. But anyway, back on topic. I was listening to Oni plays their Kingdom Hearts like so. Fun fact about me: I like to listen to Let's Plays of specifically only Oni plays. I like listening to what they, especially when Ding Dong and Julian were still on the channel, because I like listening to when Ding Dong and Julian are them actually talking about stuff. And Ding Dong, it was the Kingdom Hearts 2 Play, and they were talking about um, modding and games and development and all that jazz, because Ding Dong is a coder, and he was talking about a fan game of Sonic called Sonic Robo Blast, and it's made in the Doom engine. And I was like, whoa, really? So, I had to look it up. And when I looked it up, I was actually kind of impressed. It's really crazy how flexible the Doom engine is and what people can do with it if, you know, given the time and care enough for it. Because it's a little janky, it's a little wonky. The physics in Sonic are not as responsive as, and it's kind of hard to get used to.
But
Because
that's the thing about the physics. You have the option to fine tune it to how you see fit. Do you want Sonic to be heavy as a rock, or do you want him to be as light as a leaf?
yeah, I prefer a little bit heavier just in the sense of controlling it to jump on enemies. But no, I mean there's a playable Sonic and Tails, Sonic Solo, Tails, Knuckles. I mean, and even the mini game is a Knights clone. It's really crazy what they've done. Again, all of this done on the Doom engine. It's so even though it's a very okay, like even if you think it's just a basic Sonic platformer, but I mean it's just impressive how you can take something that you look at Doom and then you look at this engine and it's like wow. Like I've seen Doom mods and they're good, but it's really hard to find a Doom mod or even a game that's using the Doom engine that was just as impressive. I mean, there are some good Doom mods out there, but I'm just talking about like I have yet to find a game that's almost. If you told me that was made in the Doom engine, I wouldn't have believed you. I'm
Hmm.
just saying it's impressive how um, you can do something with it. The only other game I know that has like a flexible engine like that is Trials, because they like some people even made a like even though it's not much. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that little interference. I'm not gonna cut this out, by the way. This episode is going to be like we're gonna upload it the way we can. So if there long pauses, it's just with everything going on. I'm gonna just upload this video. I'm gonna the other videos that are coming in. I've yet to upload. Will be uploaded and edited, but this one not really. So if you hear my door open, it's just going in there. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, Trials. So yeah, people even made like there was somebody made a first person shooter. Now it's not a whole like campaign, but the fact that somebody took a game like Trials. Have you played that game?
Nope.
Oh, it's just like a 2D like you play in a dirt bike and you do tricks and ramps and like it's physics based, kind of like I don't want to say quap, but like you just got to keep your character on, land properly. And like you can make your custom maps, and it's just crazy what people have done with it.
Mm. Might have seen it in action a long time ago, but that's about it. I
You could
never
probably
really.
look it up. It shouldn't be too hard to find. You just look up Trials, uh, first person shooter, and it's somebody. I think it should come up in one of the few searches. I forgot what I typed in specifically. I only found out about, so that's the only other example of a flexible engine. Like it's one thing that a game is totally different, but it's one thing to take an engine of another game and turn it into something totally different.
Yep.
It's I guess the other games I've been playing. I jumped into two games that I think like in retrospect, a lot of people drastically hate the other game, but the other one was kind of to everybody. I think it went under everyone's radar when it came out. I just don't think it flew with the right people. I think it sold decently, but it's one of those games where just because it sells decently doesn't mean it necessarily, you know, is a good game, because a lot of good games, or even below average games, have sold well, but nobody ever talks about them ever again. And the two games I'm talking about is sequels, actually. One is Mafia 3 and Kane and Lynch 2 Dog Days.
Hmm. Names and franchises that I heard of, but never really got into.
Yeah, I never actually, it's funny because I never actually played Kane and Lynch 1. I only saw a little bit of it in a not a demo disc, but like I had a bunch of Hitman games that I borrowed from my uncle, and one of them had a demo of one game and then a trailer for Kane and Lynch. And I remember Kane and Lynch 1 was notorious for being like the controls. And, but what got me interested even in playing Kane and Lynch 2 was curiosity. I don't remember what exactly made me say, oh, I think I was in a binge of like watching, like I saw some Max Payne 3 cutscenes, and I was like, I saw something with Kane and Lynch 2, and like it was one of those games where I was always interested, but every time I said, oh, I might play it, I never did. And I heard the game was, people saying the game was awful. I think the most, like when you type in Kane and Lynch 2 Dog Days, the first thing you get is Angry Joe, which I'm not, I don't hate Angry Joe, but I'm very indifferent with him.
Oh, oh, you brought up Angry Joe. We going on a tangent.
Oh, to
Cause
be fair, hold on, let me say what I gotta say. To be fair, I feel like his criticisms come off as he's just trying to be a persona. So he's
hmm
just like most of the games that he like drags on and shits on or whatever, demonetized. Uh, it just comes off as like a 15-year-old who's only played Call of Duty and Fortnite, and he's like, and the and the funniest thing that's ever happened to him was him trying to confront Jeff Keighley at the VGAs, and
Yep.
Jeff just shows that they're two, despite them being in the like surrounded by video games, they're from two different worlds. Like it just shows you that sometimes, like even if like Jeff is like, whoa, just advertising popular games just because they're popular, when it comes down to it, that guy really knows a thing or two about games. And even if he doesn't, Joe doesn't know what he's talking about either. Like Jeff didn't like outsmart him, but he just stated like obvious things that if when thought about it, it's just kind of like common sense. And then it doesn't help that Joe doubled down on a video and like saying, "Oh, he was messing with me." It's like, dude, because like it's just like Jeff will go to sleep for like almost forgetting about that whole thing, and I still think that probably eats away at Joe, again. But
So here's my thing. And this is a totally different conversation, but I had to say this. So,
I mean, this is an unedited podcast. I'm not gonna, so we can talk about whatever.
but I'm just gonna say this. I just got through watching the Rise of Skywalker, and I'm not like so much a big movie buff.
I wouldn't even take you to say that. I would say I've never taken you as a Star Wars fan either.
But I'm going to just put the question out. Why does everyone hate this movie? Because I asked my brother, and now I'm asking you, because my brother said it was stupid, there was plot holes, this movie doesn't make sense, and I had to bring up the point to my brother, this franchise doesn't make sense. I love it though, but here's the thing. People fighting with laser swords, modifying DNA and genes in people's brains just by waving their hands. Realistically speaking, this franchise is silly and and it's all over the place. But why is it this movie and the movie before ruined the whole entire franchise? Because first it was episode one, two, and three that killed the franchise, and now these episodes killed the franchise. It's like
Well,
make
okay, so so from my perspective, get ready for a lot of derailing of topics because like I said, um, so as far as this movie, The Rise of the Skywalker, one, it's the third movie of this trilogy, meaning it's the final movie of this trilogy. Every Star
Mhm,
Wars, uh, every Star Wars generation pretty much has its own trilogy, with the exception of the this generation because they have spin-offs like the Solo and Rogue One, which they're slowing down because Solo didn't really do well at the box office.
mhm,
So for this one, I think it was just everything they did to spite. And now I'm not saying directly, but they did to spite the movie beforehand, which is
mhm,
ironic because the movie before this one, The Rise of Skywalker, which is the Last Jedi, retconned and just kind of shut down any theories that fans have come up with because the director wanted to, and it's the most famous quote that people have brought from that movie, subvert your expectations. He wanted to make the audience feel something different, but the problem with that notion, I think I've talked about this earlier in a podcast, is he doesn't seem like he's coming from a place of somebody who likes this series. It just seems like he did that to spite fans because he just feels like doing that. And it only and I that notion only seems to be truer if you actually take a look at how he responds to things about that through his Twitter. He's a
But
the
when you
director.
say change and spite people, isn't how many times Lucas has changed the original movies already?
No, and that's the thing though. That's the thing. The trilogy, the prequels, episodes 1, 2 and 3, a lot of people that are
Not just
hardcore
one, two,
fans.
and three, but five, six, and seven.
No. You can't count 5, 6 and 7 because
Blah.
5, 6
No,
and
I mean episode four, brain fart, but you know what I'm saying?
4,
To
5 and
where
6, and then
how many
there's
times have it been re-released and re-edited and recut?
yes, and
It's like,
but
why are
here's the,
people still shocked to this day?
because people are hold on. People are upset at those re-edits and all that because there's no way to watch the originals. And a lot of them are just unnecessary add-ons to the movie that wouldn't even make a difference and kind of sort of ruin the context of what's going on. Like if you watch the original episode 4, there's a scene that they added, completely added. It was a deleted scene, mind you, and it was Han Solo talking to Jabba the Hutt, and if for context of people who don't know Star Wars, it's just think of two characters. One is a human-looking character, one is a big fat slug creature. But the scene was cut because originally Jabba, which is the slug creature, was originally a human. But they well, I think it was a standalone. I think he was supposed to be a stand-in for the creature because they even had. I don't remember exactly how. I think he was supposed to be a human, but there was, and they decided once the Return of the Jedi when he's a slug creature, when they made that scene, there's a scene where uh, Harrison Ford, who plays Han Solo, steps over something, and they make it seem like he stepped over his tail, which it wasn't. But since it's a CG character, they can just change it. I know that sounds like I know you like. I know I'm losing people already, but keep in mind the point is that the random edits are so minor and minuscule, but then you got some that are just blatantly like, why?
But the edits add up after a while because this isn't
Yeah.
just
No, yeah. All the tiny
the
like
original series. This is the prequel series and
like
up
the
to
most
date.
notorious one is Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi has the most terrible like inserts. I don't want to say edits, inserts, because they add scenes. There's one where they add like this CGI jazzy like Scatman creature who's just going like like and singing an alien jazz, and
Hmm.
it's you have to watch that scene by itself. I'm telling you, it's just so. But George Lucas has a weird mind. It's so weird, like. And then the other one I was gonna talk about was the guy who played Anakin in the prequels in episodes 1, 2, and 3. They get his actor to stand in to be the ghost, force ghost. I know I'm losing people, but
Yeah,
at
I
the end where
remember that.
Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi are standing there, and another guy appears, and out of context they don't say who it is, but you can tell it's supposed to be Darth Vader. He redeemed himself at the end, so he was able to become. He joined the as he when he died, he became a Force ghost of the light side, you know. But and he was an old man because that's how he died. You know, he died. But like it's because there wasn't supposed to be an actual image of who he was. But when the prequels came out and we have know what Anakin Skywalker looks like, they made the Force ghost him.
Yep.
It's just a lot of weird things that doesn't make sense in the grand scheme of things. But like the thing was that
Remind me how much got retconned with this new franchise too.
that's the thing. Um, so the new Star Wars retcons a lot of the prequel stuff, episode from the episodes 1 through 3, because J.J. Abrams is a huge Star Wars fan in the sense of the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. Um,
Hmm.
but George Lucas is a guy that's just like he wants to add things, he wants to do things, he has a vision, but somewhere down the line, he slowly wanted Star Wars to be a complete like kiddie thing, like for children, because technically Star Wars is a children's toy product. It's just that the fans that grew up with it as children grew up. So now the older generation wants Star Wars, but that's tamed at their audience.
Oh, so they want to Shadow the Hedgehog. Okay.
Sort of, sort of. They want to, but it's so weird because Star Wars, even though it was aimed at children when it came out, it was so well written and done that everybody, when it came out, enjoyed it. And the thing about the Last Jedi specifically for me, I do not like that movie as much as I do like 7. Out of the 7, 8, and 9 is the new trilogy, which is Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of the Skywalker. I love the Force Awakens. As flawed as it is, I it's actually one I can watch again. Like I can actually go back and watch that one. I cannot
Eh,
for the life of me watch 8 and 9. I could probably watch 9 to laugh at it again because there are some really dumb moments in that movie, but all of it just doesn't like they were so 8 episode 8 just did so much to destroy the foundation that was laid out for them in 7 that they were just like, oh, screw it, and then they just retcon everything in 8 and just make 9 as. But the thing was, is they shouldn't have gotten J.J. Abrams to write it. They should have just stuck to it and let the guy who was going to direct it, because it was going to be 3 separate directors. But what happened was is that because of Solo flopping and Last Jedi getting a lot of negative criticism despite it doing well at the box office, it it was just to Disney, Star Wars was becoming a sinking ship faster than they anticipated. Especially because considering how much money they spent to buy the damn thing from Lucas.
yeah, they didn't consider the fan base that they were dealing with. Oh, we'll just do this and it'll work. Nope.
The thing about
Lesson
it
they had to
is
learn the
that
hard way.
for me, like me personally, when you go behind the scenes and you watch The Last Jedi, you listen to Ryan Johnson, you listen how he says everything. He doesn't sound like he's confident in his own actions. He tries to justify his changes because he says he wants to test the audience and subvert their. But really, it almost seems like he's just doing it to spite people. And honestly, if he just said he was doing it because he hates Star Wars and wants to see man children cry, that probably would have been a more susceptible answer.
I I can honestly say I have no problems with any of the movies. I mean, I can give them critiques and how ludicrous and absurd they can get at times, but it's no, oh man, I hate this movie completely.
Yeah. For it's funny because I do this out of all the movies, I think the weakest ones will have to for me will have to be um episode 8 9 no 8 sorry, The Last Jedi and Star Wars episode, it's either 1 or 2, and I would put both, but I do like certain aspects of them that I can't really say I hate them because I haven't sat through and watched them. And if I did, I probably would put both of them in the list. Like those 3 are
Uh,
the weakest movies for me.
well,
And the
for
reason why.
me, the weakest movies had to be episode 5 and 2. That's about it.
Which one? Wait, hold on. Episode 5, Empire
Mm,
Strikes Back?
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
How so?
So again, you remember what I said before we even started like before we started to just go into the details of
Yeah.
my brother trying to tell me that this is stupid. Some of the stuff didn't make sense, and I rebutted with saying this whole franchise is all over the place and it doesn't make sense on paper. Is so I because I seen 4 like bits and pieces of 4, and then I seen it later on as a whole. I was like, okay, I see what people like. But then when I saw episode 5, I might be getting my episodes confused because
Empire
of
Strikes
age.
Back is the one where it starts off on the snow planet and the AT and the giant walkers and
Was episode 5 the one where the infamous "Luke, I'm your father" scene?
yes.
Yeah, that's what it was for me. Cause soon as I seen that, I was like, man, I don't know what it was, but that whole scene, it just made me think this movie is dumb.
And see
And
the
that
fun
was before we even knew what memes and all this other stuff in the internet. That was me when I was younger saying that.
so
And then when
and
I
it's
look at it now, I still see it as ridiculous and silly.
all right. So thing is
And
that
Attack of the Clones. Attack on the Clones. It speaks for itself.
So, and the thing is for me is that I am not a huge Star Wars fan, but I do like Empire Strikes Back for different reasons than what people think. Structurally, it's a very different movie from the Episode 4, which is the first movie, Star Wars. Star Wars, the original one, is very like it's just a breeze to watch through. You can watch it and be, and I'm talking about the original cut. Like you can sort of watch the re-edit one, and it's not too bad. But if you grew up with the old one, it's night and day. But the problem I have with that is you're not. I don't really consider you to be a Star Wars fan. So for you saying I didn't really like Empire Strikes Back, I'm like, all right, all right. But when somebody says they're a huge Star Wars fan and they're shitting on that movie, and it's like, okay, hold on, we're gonna have a problem
Sure,
because
bruh.
it's like, all right, think about
Let me
it's
put it like this: when you say it that way, I can make the same argument with the Sonic fan base to where they say that, oh, it's like, well, you're not a true Sonic fan if you're this, and this. But here's my thing: like, there are people who have different tastes, no matter who they are. I mean, like, take for instance me. Do I think Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was the best in the franchise? No, I think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was.
no, yeah, of course. I mean, I grew up with
But there's
three,
going to be
but
people to argue me up and down whether or not the first one was going to be the best in the franchise, Sonic 3 and Knuckles was the best in the franchise, or even CD was the best in the franchise. But that's where I'm coming from as a Star Wars fan, to where I just don't care about the critical acclaim, the critical praise. It's like, is it entertaining to me? Yes or no?
yeah,
And when I seen it back then, I thought it was dumb.
yeah,
And when I came back to it, when I was adult, I still think it's dumb.
and that's the thing. But you don't have to. You never directed one of these. You don't have to direct one of these films. The guy who I'm talking about directed a film, and it just seems like because like in his like he's mentioned in interviews, he said if Star Wars episode, if Empire Strikes Back came out today, it would have gotten roasted. And it's just like it's like it's like if it did come out today, like you have to imagine it. We don't know. It's hard to say stuff like that because when those movies came out, they kind of created a whole generation. It's like without Empire, without Star Wars, you don't have people trying to like. You don't really get. It's hard to explain, but like Star Wars was kind of an enigma. It's one of those movies where I can't even imagine what would be here with what movies kind of movies we would have without those three movies essentially. Like Return of the Jedi, people can debate whether it's good or bad, but I'm just saying the original trilogy, without them, I don't think we would have what we have today without them. So I can understand. So for me, my personal opinion is if you, I can understand you not liking Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, but I forgot what song it is. But it's more like this: if you say you're a Star Wars fan, you don't have to like that episode, but you will respect it.
Hmm.
And
Well,
that's my opinion on it. I'm not saying, and I won't think any less of anybody except Ryan Johnson.
I mean, but my thing is, how would you expect someone to respect the movies when they don't even respect them? I mean, we're ranting about the whole entire franchise.
That's the thing. It's Star Wars. It's just you either love it or you hate it.
But that's the thing. I don't hate it, and I love it.
No, I
But
mean
I
like
throw a little
that's
bit
what
of
people. No, that's
criticism.
what.
I might as well be a Sith Lord.
It's one of those movies where it. I think there was like maybe only one or two real negative criticisms of that movie. But it's the thing about summer blockbusters. It's like a lot of people say the original Avengers 2012 when it first came out is one of the best movies. I think it's one of the dumbest.
See, you get where I'm coming from
I know.
then.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But I'm not going to I understand why people love it, and I understand when people say
I
it's a
mean,
very
just
solid
because you
film.
love something, that doesn't make it immune to criticism.
I know.
I
That's
mean,
not
being a Sonic fan, we know better than anyone else.
but for me, it's like if people would say you got to respect Avengers, it's like no, 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 no. You have to respect Iron Man 1 because without that movie success, we wouldn't get the Avengers.
hmm
Yes, the whole like they did tease that they were going to do a cinematic universe with the Avengers like way before it. Even if I think Hulk did okay, but that was around the time Iron Man 2 came out. Iron
Oh,
Man
from one,
1
I thought
is
you
a
were talking about
solid
the original Hulk. I was like, what? Well,
res-
not the original Hulk, but what was that other weird Hulk that came prior before for the
there's
MCU?
okay, there is just Hulk directed by Ong Lee 2002 or 3.
Ah, I think it was
I was
2003.
a wee babby when I saw that one and I didn't understand a single thing of it. A lot of people say it sucks. I don't think it's that
Because when you
bad.
say Hulk, I'm thinking like old Bruce Banner Hulk,
Oh
where
no,
every
that's like
time
the
at the end of the
1980s
episode,
show.
that's that
Yeah.
scientist song or
Um
whatnot.
no, 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 no. That's even way old school. But hey, it's funny because I remember the complaints people had for it was like, oh, it has these weird transitions, like it's a comic book, but it's a movie. It's like, hey, hello, Hulk was a comic book before the like. I understand it was probably disorienting for some people, but at the same time, I don't really. It was already a weird movie. It's probably hard to follow. I haven't watched it from beginning to end recently, but I've seen parts of it, and it has its moments. It's not a terrible movie. It's not a great movie either, but I think the people like. Again, also, but it did give out the best toy on the planet, and that was the Hulk hands. When the Hulk hands came out for that movie, they were huge. But then when they came out for like the Avengers or like any other thing, they were shitty small ones. Like nobody wants to play with these.
It's like give us some soccer boppers.
Dude, like if you had the original Hulk hands, dude, they were big. Like
I know. I still remember.
oh, they were so fun. Uh but no. So it's like my issues with the Avenger 2012 honestly isn't even the action portion. It's everybody doing like these like one-liners and quips, and it's just like, all right, settle down.
Yep.
Honestly, my most favorite movie out of the entire MCU is actually I can't believe this, but Iron Man 3. I was blown away with how good that movie is. And again, for some people, they might be, oh, I didn't like that movie. It's like I actually like, from I like it, but I have with the Marvel franchise, I'm more just combobulated with like Star Wars. I respect the original trilogy. I do solidly love 4, 5, and 7. The rest and Rogue, I do like Rogue One's at thing stuff in it, but I can live without watching it. I like the stuff in it, but it's more along the lines of fun to look at, not really fun to watch. Has a
Yep.
lot of issues that could have been fixed. Oh, and The Mandalorian was a solid series. That's how you do a Star Wars series. Like I was like,
But you know it's going to be retconned.
hey, I don't care. I don't care if it gets retconned. That one was a solid movie. John Favreau knows what he grew up with, and he managed to make a series that actually has some like. It's kind of weird. It's so weird seeing Bill Burr in the series.
Yeah.
Like, and he wasn't just a like a cameo. He was an actual character in an episode. It just
Yep.
has a lot of good moments. Some things are a little like some of the CGI kind of like you can tell like, but you can tell that John respects the series for what it is.
Yeah, which is
You can,
sad. It's like he respects it, but everyone else doesn't.
and that's the problem. You got people who think that they're above Star Wars who want to work on Star Wars films and end up working on a Star Wars film and end up making a Star Wars film that's just so boring. Like that's and I can go on forever. Like my hatred for Last Jedi revolves around how bored I
So,
was with it.
question: do you think M Night would be able to make a better Star Wars than Abrams?
Abrams, uh, if Force Awakens, no. Uh, Rise of the Skywalker, maybe, but not. But like you gotta like, okay, M Night has some really good movies under his belt, but at the same time, he has a lot of bad ones. I could see him doing a Star Wars like pilot or like a mini like series on like Disney Plus or something. I could see him doing that with something completely different. I'd be interested, honestly. I would like to like if he just advertised little to nothing, little pieces. Like, all right, I'll check it out. And even if it was terrible, I don't think he would like change the entire lore for the sake of his movie. Ryan,
Yep.
it's like the biggest offense to that movie is boredom. And I'm sorry, I know I sound like a broken record, but also he ruined Luke Skywalker's character. Everybody in the fucking world can come at me on that, telling me, oh, but I'm telling you, you can't just take. It's like taking a character from your favorite video game, and not. It's not making them the villain. That's sort of interesting in an aspect. It's kind of interesting for like Digimon Worlds did that for the main protagonist for the first game is the antagonist in the sequel. And you don't have to necessarily say how they got there, but it's just interesting that they do that. But it just feels so weird. Like, why would Luke just, with no hesitation, no question, just straight up, first thing he tries to do to hit. Keep in mind, he knows at this point that Leia is his sister, sort of. He kind of got that. And Han Solo's son, his sister, and his best friend's son. Why would he think for like a second, just straight up, yeah, I'm just gonna murder him? I sense evil in him. Like it when you watch, especially when you watch 4 and 5 beforehand, it just like people say that Luke, is like, oh, this, and it's just like, no, he's not. When you actually watch the movie and don't pick apart at the little things, you can tell he's not that kind of person. And it's like,
Yeah, he's a flawed individual, like everyone else.
yeah, and it's like, oh, but over the years it's got him. It's like, really, really. He doesn't seem like the kind of person that would get. Like, I'm not saying he should have been the one to take action, but he could have been doubtful. If anything, I would have been preferred it where he was just he isolated himself because he didn't think that Ben like if anything it should have been Ben should have betrayed. I think it was supposed to just be clean cut and dry, but then they want to make it seem that you know
Before we go further, can we say how much the Force is a meme at this moment?
oh yeah,
I
no.
mean, because I was laughing when they explain how Palpatine came back. He just came back because of the Force. The Force gives you eternal life. And I'm just sitting.
Well, I
And
mean, because they
I was
got rid
like,
of the main
"Where are
villain in
you,
the
Luke?"
eighth movie. I'm pretty sure that was going to be it anyway. I don't know. Who knows? But well, the thing is that Luke wouldn't like if he was isolated. I feel like it would have been because he felt a failure. Like I can't. You know, and it then if the you know, there should have been a moment with him and Han. There should have been like it just feels so like these characters should have had like there should have been like at least one moment with all three of them on the screen to show because the point of the reboot of this series was supposed to be a passing of the baton to show a new generation of Star Wars, not soak in what the original was and try to retcon everything.
Hey man, they had to come in with the rare retcon phasers.
And also, why do you kill Admiral Akbar? What did he do wrong?
Just cause.
And everybody on planet Earth will agree that the Canto Bite, which is the casino scene, is the worst scene in the movie. It has no point being there other than we're here. It's so like everything in the movie is so heavy-handed. It holds your hand and it tells you all these things. It makes it so obvious what it's supposed to be. Like
Yep.
Rose's, like Finn was gonna sacrifice himself, but Rose saves him. She says, sometimes, winning the battles is saving what you love, not fighting what you hate, or something like that. And it's just like, yeah, but your your friends are about to be blasted into oblivion, and you probably would have
But the
accidentally killed,
planet Duke.
and you and Finn would have probably died. You like people always point out you probably would have died trying to stop him. Like, what if you both crash and you end up killing each other? That would have been probably more like plausible. And it's just that, it just everything, just like that movie. Oof, 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 oof. Just big oofs everywhere. And it's like poor VFX artists and all these things, all these crazy stuff having to be done. It's just everywhere.
Hear me now, quote me later. The cycle's going to repeat itself to where they're going to have a new franchise. People are going to enjoy the return to form, and then the movies after are just going to retcon everything.
Yeah,
I'm noticing the cycle.
at this
It
point,
happened with episode one, two, and three, and it's happening now. So
I know we this became a Star Wars, but it's like Kingdom Hearts, people. Once you get into a discussion about Kingdom Hearts, you're gonna spend almost an hour because you have to explain everything else so that nobody gets confused of what's going on. And even then, you end up coming out more confused than ever. So I'm sorry for anybody who's not a
hence the
Star Wars
Star
fan,
Wars
but this is what happens
franchise.
when you talk about it. It's the equivalence of talking about Kingdom Hearts and trying to justify everything.
What
But
you that?
so our closing statement for Star Wars, let's shut this case down, is that Star Wars at this point is better off as being a series, like trying to make like things. Like the Mandalorian took place as a life of a bounty hunter character, of a race of, uh, so everybody's a minor character. There's no big grand schemes. There may be mentions of one or two people from the original main story, maybe a cameo in season 2 or whatever. But it's a solid standalone series that if it wasn't Star Wars, it probably would have just been a good sci-fi film. I mean, a sci-fi series.
In other words, hold on to your fan fiction as long as you can.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like Star Wars works better when it's like, oh, we come full circle. I'm about to say something. Star Wars to me is kind of like, in my opinion, Star Wars is like Sonic. It's like there's the three solid films, the three Sonic 1, 2, and 3. Debatable which one is better. All the spin-offs. Despite even the worst film or game, everyone still loves it because they know how much potential could have been if it was done right. To the point where even fans know what even fans know better than the actual company who owns the franchise. And when you give a fan of the series the chance to work on it, you get something decent. Sonic Mania and The Mandalorian.
Yep.
So we've come full circle, people. Star Wars is Sonic. The Star Wars fan base is the equivalent to the Sonic fan base. They all have
Star
their
Wars was never good.
Star Wars was never. I mean, right? Almost you could take any argument with Sonic and then just replace Sonic with Star Wars. Hell, they both even start with an S. Sonic, Luke Skywalker, Dr. Eggman, Darth Vader.
But you know, even though
Skywalker,
we come in
Sonic, Darth,
fools,
Doctor.
even though we come in full circle with where we go, it's a perfect segue away to what I was doing and whatnot.
Yeah, let's so we're done with Star Wars for this conversation. Almost an hour into this episode. We are truly at the end days.
Yup. So pretty much, apparently they had them another trial run for the beta of the American version of Fantasy Star, and eh, so far I see what they're trying to do, but it's getting weird because there were microtransactions in the original Japanese version, but they just amplified it to 10 with the American version to where it's like oh, buy more of these, buy more of that. It's like here's some pictures of what you're buying. I was like, well, at least I know what I'm getting this time instead of playing a lottery to randomly get that costume.
Yeah.
And but the thing that I hope they fix whenever it comes out in America is we have all the episodes because I love me some Fantasy Star Online too, but I can tell you where it is now is a lot better than it was when it first came out. And now I'm starting to understand why people didn't come back until the end of Fantasy Star right now, which they're barely getting into episode 7, I think.
Uh huh.
Because for the beta, well, now I'm gonna have to do some explanations, but I'm gonna try to keep it quick. So right now in Fantasy Star, they have, I'm just gonna call them like paladin classes. That way you don't have to think too hard. So like you know how there's like the martial artist or the fighter class, and then a step up is the monk.
Yeah.
Same could be said for Fantasy Star, to where you got the hunter, the mage, and a couple combinations of other classes and whatnot. But in their case, we have three paladin classes. Like one's called the hero, which is combination of physical weapons. The phantom, which is a combination of different weapons, but more ranged based. And then you have the star class, which is the same but more magically oriented, that hits harder.
Yeah.
So that's where Fantasy Star Online 2 is, and I enjoy it because the damage and all that stuff. But playing the American version, it's going two steps back. Because now I'm playing, it's like, well, there aren't no ultimate weapons that I can get. Well, technically there is, but that's a headache getting my hands on them this early, even if I know what I'm doing. And you got some people from the Japanese servers, they already it's coming. So obviously they're trying to get their levels up as fast as possible. That's helping me out. But what's not helping me out is the people who are essentially just sitting there in the lobby trying to have a conversation, or if they are doing missions and whatnot, half the server is under leveled.
Mhm.
It's entertaining because right now it's like you got me, a bunch of other people that are barely level 60 trying to take on monsters that are level 80. That's entertaining, but it's painful because I'm so used to just being able to have an ultimate weapon on call and going in and having raid, but it's still fun. But that's where we are with the beta for the American version. But I can see them doing it. Yeah, I mean, the primary thing that irritates me the most is being stuck playing it on the Xbox One because you gotta, besides having the Xbox One, you gotta pay for Xbox Live to play a free to play game, which that just baffles my mind. And then if I were to say something, they'll be like, "Well, you gotta pay for the servers." It's like, bro, I don't pay for the servers on the PlayStation 4,
Yeah.
the PC version. Shoot, hell, I don't even pay for the service on the Switch. So why should I have to pay for the Microsoft version of this? That's stupid. I mean, am I wrong for saying that?
I mean, for some people, I mean, but it's like,
Because the joke is still on Microsoft because it's like, oh, we're keeping it on there because we want to get people to buy more Xboxes. It's like, yeah, you trying, but that's not gonna. Because here's how it's going. For the Japanese people who don't want an Xbox, which is majority of the people who are playing Fantasy Star on the Japanese version, what they're doing is they're going to the pawn shop and getting a cheap Xbox One, nothing, or going to eBay. And then as for the Xbox Live, they only month, and then before the month expires, they just, yeah, no, I'm canceling it. Get my. So the joke is still on Microsoft because they're getting a little bit of money, but not the money they expected to get.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
But
don't.
speaking of people expecting about money and how things are gonna go, apparently, ugh, gonna bring back up the virus that's going about. But man, there's a bunch going on in the game community. Events getting canceled, misinformation,
Conspiracy
and
theories.
delays. And the good news is they said that Final Fantasy 7 delayed, so that's something. But E3 and all this other stuff, nope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you also heard about how apparently Sony's trying to get Silent Hills from Konami.
Yeah. I think it's all Silent Hills and Metal Gear. But again, the Metal Gear not so sure, but I think the Silent Hill, they definitely want to like get. They're trying to get the rights to IPs from Konami to even collaborate and even have Kojima work on the Silent Hill project that was canceled.
The question is Konami still going to be stubborn to the end?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think that Kojima is kind of, and the thing is that since Kojima doesn't work for them, I think Sony will give a good payout, and Konami will just be like, okay, so when this game makes money, we get paid for it, right? Yeah. And you're already paying us a lot of money to get the franchise, right? Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, like, and you, because the thing is that this might sound like some people may not like this, but I think Kojima, like, Kojima kind of knows what he's doing with his franchises, but at the same time, you can tell where it's just something feels off about it. And I'm not talking about like Metal Gear Solid 2 where you can't play a snake, you're only playing as Raiden. That's a different. I mean more along the lines of just making like a. Oh, hold on. Entertaining like game. Oh.
Oh, you good?
Okay. I sorry, I heard something in the background, and it sounded like some weird static, and you. So I thought I was like, it almost felt like I was like just talking to nothing. I think it's the TVs from the other room. But again,
Uh,
not. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So I can see Sony resurrecting Silent Hills and even Metal Gear Solid and making some really decent games. But the problem I have with it, honestly, is just will that Silent Hill game play like a Silent Hill game, or will it just be, you know, I understand like Kojima has a vision for his games. That's good and bad because you look at Death Stranding. Death Stranding went through a lot of delays. It went through a lot, but Sony didn't care. Sony put a lot of faith into Kojima because only
and
so,
they know it was gonna make it back somehow.
and I think it's average. I think it sold very decently. I think people still bought it. The reception it got was kind of like there's mixed in it. I'm on the fence of I still haven't played it yet, but I'm on the side of where I just feel as most people who were saying that people who said that if they didn't like the game, it's just like, oh, you don't get it, and it's just like, okay, so
It's more of, did you have fun playing it, or are you just playing because the hype?
yeah, and
If
that
you're playing it just for the hype, you're going to be disappointed. Not trying to say the game is perfect, but it's just one of those things of where going on in life, I'm starting to get to the point to where when it comes to the hype, I tend to ignore it because I know if I try to come in with the hype, I'm only going to be 10 times disappointed when it's not what the hype was. Pretty much, you get where I'm going?
yeah, I mean, and it's like Rockstar games. Like people are always like, when you can't like even if you didn't enjoy a Rockstar game when it came out, you couldn't say anything about it because you just get bombarded with people. It's like GTA 5 has its moments, but a lot of mission like I forgot a lot of the certain missions just because a lot of it was just boring. Like you weren't doing anything. I mean, the story was all right. The characters in it were actually better than the story, but I
Eh,
mean,
I get it though. Buying for the people who say, this is boring, this is not what I expected to be. Is like, well, it's pretty much how I felt with Red Dead and Red Dead 2.
I kind of just
I
I kind of want to play Red Dead 2, but I something about a game trying to be I don't know. Like I want to play it, but I don't know part of me will enjoy it or not.
I mean, I can't take a game serious whenever they're talking about we're broadening the horizon of gaming. We have a vision for this game. It's gonna be this, this, and this. It's like I'm gonna play this game, and if it entertains me enough for me to stay with it, then I'll like it. But all this hype stuff is just gonna make me not wanna touch it even more because I know, yeah, it's not the hype.
Yeah. I just I'm not that hard to entertain with these games, but the thing about open world games, if you're gonna have an open like a vast thing to explore, you gotta have stuff to do in it, and that's from from the thing with Death Stranding. That's the problem, and with Silent Hill. Silent Hill always works as more of a confined game. Yeah, there is a big city to explore, but a lot of it is limited. And to hide those limitations, especially on the PS2 and PS1, is that they make a fog. So in a way, there is a city, but I mean, there's a lot of dead ends and stuff to hide the fact that it's not really a complete city. I think in Downpour and Homecoming and all these other games, there's a giant city to explore, but I don't need that in a Silent Hill game. And that's the only thing I'm kind of worried about is that even though it's Silent Hill and yeah, it might be scary. Like I liked PT but PT was very confined and it had a lot of like crazy stuff to unlock the secret Silent Hills teaser,
Hmm.
but overall, I was just like, I can live without it. Like, it was fun to play. It has its moments. It's very unsettling in certain areas. Kojima uses the best of his abilities to, and his team. Let me rephrase that, to make a good, like, to make it look almost like a real. It looks like it. Honestly, that house looks one of like the. It's looks real. Like a lot of that stuff looks real. It's very unsettling how certain screenshots can look like it's from an actual thing.
Yeah. Man, here's a whole hoping that it goes through.
Yeah,
Get it by the time the PlayStation 5 comes out.
yeah, and if it's good, it's good. And that's the thing people don't understand. It's like just because you have a problem with Death Stranding doesn't mean you hate Kojima's games. It's just that you like
I mean, certain games aren't for everyone. That's just how it is. Because as much as I like the Neptunia franchise, I don't know that it's not for everyone. Same could be said for the Persona franchise, the Fire Emblem franchise, plenty of different franchises.
yeah. Oh yeah, I told you know it's funny. Everyone's talking about Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing New Horizons. I almost forgot about the Persona 5 the Royal
Yep.
and Scramble, but I don't think Scramble's coming out this month.
When is Scramble coming out?
I have no idea. Um,
I mean, I know it's out in Japan right now, I think, but I'm not gonna really spoil myself. I'm just gonna patiently wait and then grab it and judge it for myself.
Low key, I do want to play it. I'm more excited for that one in Oh, there hasn't been a U.S. release, but I'm more excited to play it. I know a lot of people are playing it on the Switch or Japanese version, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I can wait. I'm patient. If you're that impatient to play it, I don't think you knew what it was like to wait for 5 when it came out originally.
Eh, Different for us considering how long we waited for Kingdom Hearts 3
Yep,
and Final
yep.
Fantasy.
Remember when we thought they were all gonna come out on the PS3?
Yep.
Oh, what a time! How naive we were. And what's even worse is that Kingdom Hearts is practically came out near the end of the PS4 life cycle.
Yep. And the
It's
franchise is still not over. We just got through with the saga. I was like, oh, saga. So Disney gonna keep that money train going then.
well, it'd be either that. It's better so that way they can have a games division or something.
Yep.
But to be fair, I'm curious to see where they would go now. Uh,
Hopefully they bring back the Final Fantasy characters this time.
and oh yeah, and Final Fantasy VII's coming out for if for anybody interested in that. I'm kind of put off to it because I'm like, I'm just gonna
Beat the game years ago. I already know what's gonna happen. But to see it be realized with modern day graphics, that's gonna be a treat in my book.
yeah. Oy. I was looking while I was looking up the release date for the U.S. I just saw some really crazy news. I'm telling you this. I mean, right now where we're at, I think we're sort of in a quarantine. L.A. just hit with a very serious lockdown. Like they're on like don't leave your house.
Hmm. Wonder how long till it make it over here.
I think it's more like that because again, LA is a highly populated area,
But
and
the same thing could be said about us, but it's kind of mixed, saying because
but
people
the
are
but
actually trying to deal with it as best as they can. I mean, besides
yeah,
only going out when they need to. We don't have people just saying, "I'm gonna go outside
Yeah, but
and
the
I'm
thing
gonna
is
go
that
party."
um, California is more closer to China than we are, and the amount of
Mm,
cases in Seattle and California are a lot higher than it is like in the middle of the U.S. Like it's weird because like New York is like also on lockdown, and I can understand that, but like Florida's like right there too, but they're not really on lockdown, and I don't know. Who knows? It's tough to say, and I don't like people. It's just gonna be a lot crazy, and I know we're trying not to dig too much into it. I was just saying, like I said, I was looking up and I just saw that, but that's just how it is right now. This is how it's gonna be for a while. So to expect us to like bring up certain events like that. It's ironic that we try to keep away from politics and all that stuff, but it's just like
oh, no one can get away
you
from
can't get
this
away
no
from a
matter.
pandemic. That's a whole
Try.
different thing. So wherever you're at, if you're just if you need to stay home, stay home. If you have to trudge out there in the wild,
Hey, let's just be thankful it's not a zombie outbreak,
a
because we'd
lot.
be screwed.
Yeah,
With
on
how
it.
everyone handling stuff.
And honestly, I'm more relieved that the more serious case. Excuse me. Up there I go. Um, but what I was gonna say is that talking without drinking water is a bad no. So please, if you can stay hydrated. Sorry, I gotta take a quick swig. Um, I'm just glad it's not really. There hasn't been real like. I mean, this would be a great like. It would. I think it would have been end game if the most infected would have been children and younger.
Oh, ho, 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 yeah.
That's that's to me that's it. That was the end game. That would have been the end game. But right now it's like I mean some people are even calling it like no I'm not nope not gonna go that far. All right, I'm stopping myself. But yeah, like most people are being affected or you know between the ages 35 and up. We're kind of pushing it, but even though we stay indoors, our immune system isn't great, but it's not. I don't think it's that compromised. But it's not about your immune system. It's about the people around you's immune system, like your parents, my mom, and my brother. They say that people who are diabetic are more prone to it. So I have to be careful.
And they try to tell me, it's like, why are you being an old man? You're not old. It's like, yeah. It's like, you want to play around, go play around. I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to be over here, and you're going to be over there. So,
Yeah, for some people they're used to it, and so I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have means to like keeping yourself occupied once things start settling down. And for all that, I just hope you have the right amount. It's like you
keep
can,
your sanity intact, people.
if it's a nice sunny day, just take a step outside your backyard and
Right?
just get some sunshine. I mean, I know some people are like, "Oh, I hate the sun. I hate going outside." But like I'm telling you, even your favorite shut-ins that are like well famous, like manga artists or streamers, a lot of them will tell you like you need to get out every once in a while. You don't have to get out every single day, but being cooped up inside your house, you just need that one day of just take a quick step outside and go back in. I'm not even saying leave your house. I'm just saying, you know, because it
Make
doesn't
your
matter.
eyes dilate.
Yeah,
It's like, get out of your cave.
and it's like, oh, but what if? And it's like, yeah, what if? It's I mean, I don't mean to sound cynical, but it's just the way it is right now. It's as long as you and if you're not, and the thing is that you can go outside. You just can't be in heavily populated areas. And like, oh, McDonald's is closed. Well, not technically. You can still get McDonald's if you really were craving some McDonald's. It's just that dine-in is not. Certain states right now, like ours specifically, dine-ins is a no-no. Takeout and Walk in to go or yes. Uber Eats, yes. Sitting down at the restaurant, no. So that's how it is over here where we're at.
Yep.
But I mean, it's so weird because I live around an area where there's a lot of industrial, so I just see a lot of people still going to work, still walk. Hell, there's still people outside like mowing the lawn, the gardener, like the people that mow other people's lawn, and they have their truck full of all their tools and everything, going out doing their day. You got construction workers still doing construction work. But that's how it is. It's just like you know, for poor people and a lower class, like I'm talking about people who want if they have to work. Like
Yep.
it doesn't matter how serious it is to them. It's just like I have to work. And that's the cruel thing about it. Even people who are working at GameStop. GameStop shouldn't be working, but they are.
Yep. I get it. So, bruh, my dad showed me a picture of this person just walking around wrapped in garbage bags and whatnot. I was like, I could put a melted blood joke in there, but I'm not.
Like,
And pretty much that's where we are, trying to continue how we're going, but still be cognizant of the world around us.
that's what it means to be human. I believe that that's how we are. You know, I, like the thing about it is that I think if we were a lesser species, we would have been wiped out a long time ago.
Yep. But somehow we doing it, and we will continue
We
to
Yeah.
do it.
So on a positive note about amongst all this, remember, despite everything, remember you are still human. You gotta understand that we're a tenacious species. It's
Yep.
gonna be really hard. Like if if you're really scared, just remember, we're not the kind of species that would let something like this wipe us all out. It might, but we're not gonna let it. At least try. And that's the thing about life. You just gotta do what you gotta do. Be brave, everyone. It's right now, I'm really surprised that they're already having talks about vaccines. You know, it may not be ready immediately, but it's more progress than what I thought they would.
Oh, they need to get it out because if they don't get it out, our people are gonna lose a lot more money.
Yep.
So they don't got no choice but to at this time.
Yeah, and it just happened to happen around election year for us. Whoopee!
Yep. Good
But
thing I was able to get in before it got out of hand.
get caught. Oi oi oi.
Speaking of which, bruh, wouldn't you know? No, it's like my air conditioner done went out.
Mm,
It's like every time when it gets hot, we had to get another air conditioner.
yeah. You know, it's funny. I think a lot of people are outside because it's like, oh, it's March, it's hot, we're fine.
Oh, they say that now, but wait till it gets 100.
No, no, I mean in terms of the virus.
Yeah, I'm no medical expert, but I am in tuned. Well, when I say medical expert, I mean I can't give you legal advice and tell you what to do, but I do know how viruses where it works and how anatomy works enough to say, yeah, heat it doesn't kill everything.
Yeah, but if what like let's just saying in a hypothetical sense and knock on wood because it would be on anything. But if they did say, oh, it just kind of died like reports started dropping in the summer, people are gonna like, not even the summer, just like when it gets hot and nobody's gonna care. But the thing is that there are reported cases in tropical areas. But as far as I know is that it's it's just so weird. The only ones that are right now are really like the most serious is Italy and Spain. Those are the ones that I've heard all like that has been all over the news and everything.
Yeah, because they got the brunt.
Yep.
Well, them and a couple other people.
I'm on the side of like, okay, guys, if India gets screwed, we're all screwed.
Yep.
Because India, I think if last time I checked, they had 60 cases, but they haven't reported anything on that. And it's just like, I feel like, and if somebody says, well, it's like they're a very high density area and they're already a very poor, non-developed country, and it's just like, yeah, but I mean, that's I want to like, if that's the case, if they can survive it, I'm just, I'm not saying like, oh, we should go out about our day. I'm just saying, who knows? It's hard to say. It's hard. It's like at one point you kind of don't want it to be as serious as you think it is, because yeah, it already affected 3 different places. Like it's the amount of rate it spreads. It's not about how many people it's killed. It's the amount of how just fast it spreads and who can catch it.
Yep.
So, and we're just trying to control it. But it's just like, okay, but, okay, we all stay in quarantine when they, but then what do we do? It's just like, I don't like, that's the only part that's confusing me. It's like, all right, we're quarantining ourselves. We're stuck, let's say we stuck in. It's not like the virus is going to go away. I mean, yeah, it'll stop it from spreading, but I mean, it'll still be out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's my issue. It's just that, like, I want to keep in mind, I want to understand that this is how it's going to be for a while. I'm fine with it. Everyone like, okay, fine. We're already in like it's already happened. We're already in quarantine and lockdown for our city. What I want to know is that people are saying, oh, it's going to last till July. Oh, it's going to last for 18 months. 18 months, that's a whole year. I want to know if it's going to be a whole
on and when is this going to be over?
Yeah, because if it's going to be a whole another year, then I mean, we're screwed. You can't just say a whole year and everyone just be like, oh, that's fine. But again, I'm only rambling because I'm kind of running on Steam. I gave a positive note and went back into a negative one, but it's more along the lines of I want to at least live a full life. I want my son to live a full life. And he may not get that. I may not get that. And it's just how life is for some people. But
we'll get by somehow.
Yeah, that's all I can do is be positive. I'd rather be positive than just,
because there was like a big meteor that was hitting us right now. Nah.
Yeah, everybody. Hey, what happened to all those people that were just like? I think right now people would rather have the meteor just because it had been like quick. Just like, all right, couldn't even react to it. I think that honestly, I think that's just how the world's gonna go out. We're not gonna react to it. It's just gonna happen. Poof.
Yep, man, it'll be instant. And that'll be fine.
And then you wake up as a totally different person and the life begins anew. It's an isekai. Yep. We're all just waiting for our isekai.
Right.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, what would be?
Anyway, we kind of running on Steam, so it's an hour and 30 minutes in. I think we could put an end right here. Sorry about all that, folks, but you know how it is. It's just, that's what happens when, I guess this is how I would react. This is what a podcast would be like under a quarantine.
Yep, like quarantine that we did not see coming, sort of.
Well, I mean, it's something that it's one of those things where you saw it coming. Some people saw it coming, but it was nothing until it became something. So, but you can't fault people who tried to do something about it.
Yep.
You know. And shout out to anybody who works in the medical field who has to deal with all this, who's probably overworked, overstressed. Keep it up. You're doing your, do your part. You know, you guys are pretty practically right now. This situation, in my opinion, I believe that anybody who's working with these people, we're working with patients who have the virus, who's dealing with all this stuff day in day out as of now. I would say right now you're on the same level as the troops. So, shout out to and I'm talking about everybody, every medical worker around the world, not just the US. You know, you picked a you picked a service that you never knew what you're going to get into, but you take the call of action, you do what you do. Try not to overwork yourselves, you guys. Do an amazing job, and I really hope that if we do maybe have one or two fans out there that work in that field, who will hear this and be like, look back at this one and be like, wow, there are people out there that really, some video game nerds said something really nice about us.
Yep.
All right, but I think that's it for today. That's it from me. Anything you got? Any closing statements from you?
Nah, I got nothing. So probably
So
either
yeah,
hop on the beta again or play me another old game that I
yeah.
haven't played in a while.
And be on the lookout for my personal tag on Twitch. I want to start streaming again because the hours of my work is being cut. Even though I'm still going in, I want to try actually picking up streaming because that's what my life is. Oh, here's my closing statement. It's actually a positive and it has nothing to do with what's going on. It's ironic that my mother, out of all people, who's the technologically impaired of the family, is a bigger streamer than me.
Mhm.
It may
Hey,
not be
for
with video games, but she has her audience, and she knows she keeps a consistent schedule.
Eh, hey, more idea this on our front, right?
No, I'm just saying, like, it's just funny how I said I wanted to get into streaming, but then my mother, who doesn't play games, has a streaming audience. Granted, it's Facebook, but still, again, she gets her streaming career, on the right path. She's making money off of it too. Not what you think. Sorry, like she sells jewelry. Don't want to give. Hoy.
Ah, nah, I see how it is. You got that JC money.
I just realized there's gonna be one or two people. Can't do anything about it though. That was my own fault. That's my fault. I brought it up, so any jokes that come up to me, that was my fault. So I'm expecting it. That's my closing statement. All right, everybody. So stay safe out there. You know, do what you can. Wash your
Yep.
hands. You know, I, I'm on the side. Like I understand, like don't touch your face, but at the same time, if you haven't washed your hands, or if you haven't put any um, antibacterial on your hands, I would say don't touch your face. But if you're at home and you've like washed your hands and done something, and if your eye itches, I'm pretty sure it's okay to scratch as long as you're not going out or like. So like if you have those little habits, you're only human. So, if you accidentally do one of those habits, don't freak out. Because if you were gonna get it because of that, you would have gotten it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Just don't do it if you're like out in public or if somebody's coughing around you. You know, just kind of have some, restraint. but you can, if you can't help it, just make sure you've done at least a little bit of hand washing or antibacteria.
Well, guys, that's your PSA for Ed, that ass for B. We're gonna get into more of a debate off podcast
Yeah, well,
next
I,
time, people.
all
Have,
right.
have a good one.
Good night, everybody.